Over 90 of the top 100 U.S. accounting firms trust Bill to handle bill pay processes. Why? Because our tools are built on over $1 trillion of secure payments. We're not just moving money. We're powering financial workflows for 500,000 customers. That's a level of expertise you just can't fake. Ready to talk with an expert? Visit Bill.com/proven to get started and grab a $250 gift card as a thank you. Terms and conditions apply. See offer page for details.
We all prefer things a certain way, like groceries. If you want groceries just how you like them, you gotta try Instacart. They have a new preference picker that lets you pick how ripe or unripe you want your bananas. Shoppers can see your preferences upfront, helping guide their choices. Because when it comes to groceries, the details matter. Instacart. Get groceries just how you like.
Hi there, and welcome again to the Explaining History podcast. And we turn our attention back to the Persian Gulf, to the Straits of Hormuz, to the prospect of an invasion of Kharg Island by the United States of America, and what this portends. We've probably gone beyond the point already of avoiding a worldwide economic recession. I say recession, possibly even Great Depression type characteristics. Probably we've missed that window already. The increase in fossil fuel prices, even for countries that don't rely heavily on the on oil and gas and other commodities like helium, for example, that comes out of the Persian Gulf. Those countries will have to compete on a world market where supply overall is restricted, and this is how oil crises work. Countries like Russia that have their own domestic supplies, large quantities of, will be largely insulated, but everybody else, America included, will really struggle. That's just kind of for starters. The situation Trump has got himself into through his own stupidity really imperils the rest of us, the rest of humanity, really. We have two nuclear armed states waging war against a non-nuclear armed state that is very much going to acquire nuclear weapons as fast as possible. once all of this is in some way concluded, or beforehand. But Iran has an economic nuclear weapon to use, which is in some ways the thing that's frightening Trump more. Iran can control the Straits of Hormuz, um, and any attempt to break this blockade will end in certain disaster. There are numerous precedents for this. The Dardanelles campaign being the key one, the world's mightiest naval power, the British, in 1915, tried to sail through the Dardanelles to blockade Istanbul and were defeated. They lost ships to mines and to shelling from coastal batteries and had to withdraw and could not use their one true kind of superpower, naval power. And this will be the same. There is a reason why the Japanese, the Koreans, the French, the Germans, the British, everybody else has politely declined the Trump offer to come and bail him out of his mess in the Straits. No military figure in any of those governments is going to say anything other than, if you sail a warship through the Straits of Hormuz, it will be sunk before the sun sets. Think of your most beloved capital ship, your aircraft carrier, your landing ship, whatever it is, that's going to the bottom of the sea. Because a swarm of drones or a kind of a bombardment of missiles will just sink it, and there won't be anything you can do about it. It doesn't matter how many aircraft you scramble, they will keep hitting you. So no one's touching that, and even the Americans aren't touching that. Is it possible to do a marine-style assault on Kharg Island? Take Kharg Island, which is the largest refinery that Iran has, and then you squeeze off, I don't know, 50, 60, 70% of Iran's oil refining capabilities. What will that do? Trump believes that will bring the Iranians to the negotiating table. Well, did Operation Rolling Thunder, 3 years of non-stop bombardment, carpet bombing of North Korea, bring the North Koreans to the negotiating table? No, it didn't, because they knew they could win. And the Iranians will not come to the negotiating table because they know that they can win, because they know that once the Marine force has landed on Kharg Island, and the reason for fighting on for Iran is existential, for the regime it's existential. If we don't repel the Americans, we are done. If a Marine force lands there, they might be able to seize Kharg Island. It will probably be quite a bloody campaign and hard won, but then they have to hold it. And to hold it, you need to have resupply ships and a whole range of different assets in the area, all lovely, lovely targets. And you need to have troops on the island constantly, and you can shell them and missile them and drone strike them day in, day out until they're evacuated. This will appear on nightly news reports. Trump surely has been told all of this, that this will make the reality TV president will have the world's most awful reality TV show of his very own. So that's not a prospect. The landing ships full of US Marines, I believe there are 8,000 being moved into the Gulf. I can't imagine what's actually going to be done with them. If Trump goes ahead and seizes Kharg Island, he will then need to seize the corresponding part of the Iranian coastline and create a zone of up to, whatever the range of a missile is, 50 kilometers, who knows, and enforce that. That's when you start to need tens of thousands of US servicemen, hundreds of thousands perhaps, who knows. And that's the point at which a war, which I think is showing something like about 70% unpopularity in the United States already, that becomes a a kind of a Vietnam-style war of attrition, and it's the war. The attrition is being waged against America. Starts to lead to kind of collapse kind of conditions. But take a step back from that for a moment and think about Israel. So Israel doesn't want a speedy conclusion to this conflict. Perhaps even Netanyahu doesn't want any conclusion to it. Perhaps what Netanyahu is seeking here, because Netanyahu is trying to avoid the inevitable legal proceedings that will follow from the end to this conflict, is never-ending conflict where America, European powers even, are drawn in to police this part of the world non-stop, and America can prevent too much collateral damage to Israel, but a little bit of collateral damage might be quite good, to keep Israel under a state of siege and keep people like Netanyahu in power. He is heavily invested in that, and he has drawn Trump. He's found now a president of almost unimaginable incompetence and stupidity. All other American presidents, despite their various crimes around the world, and despite their support for Israel, were always more circumspect about Israel than most people realize. There were moments where Reagan essentially rang up Menachem Begin and said, whatever you're doing in Beirut has to stop. There were moments where Clinton and George W. Bush and Obama all spoke with immense anger and frustration towards the respective Israeli prime ministers. But Trump, and you can speculate about whatever they may have on him, and I don't think they have nothing on him. Whether that's instrumental in all of this is a debatable matter. But I think what is more important is the familial connections. People like Jared Kushner and his good friend Steve Witkoff, who have who he relies on. He relies on to tell him things that he needs to know. Trump doesn't rely on professional intelligence assessments. He doesn't really rely on diplomats. He spent a good deal of time tearing apart the State Department. And Trump, it is in the nature of people like Trump. And this is kind of sort of a theme within fascism. It's in the nature of people like Trump to deprofessionalize wherever they can do, to informalize. There's a kind of an interesting parallel between Trump and his various minions and Hitler and Ribbentrop. Hitler appointed Ribbentrop firstly his envoy and then his foreign minister, and he said Ribbentrop didn't know very much about the workings of of other European states. When he came to Britain, he assumed that Britain was really run by 100 aristocratic families, and you just get them on side, and that's how it all functions. And Hitler said of this champagne salesman, he said, "Well, this man, he knows how the world works. I will only listen to him." And partly to do that was Hitler's kind of wariness around centers of knowledge and centers of power, and gangster states where they emerge. They don't like the clever people. They see the clever people as rivals, and they should see them like that, because it's normally the clever people that eventually find ways to outwit the thugs and get rid of them. So Trump surrounds himself with sort of informality and incompetence, people who don't know what they don't know. And George W. Bush did this to an extent. It was amazed. George W. Bush was surprised to find out that Iraq was not a kind of homogenous society, that there were at least 3 different ethnic groups there. He had no understanding of that at all. And if you don't know that, then you have no way of preparing for what is almost inevitably going to happen next. So Trump has blundered into this through his own incompetence, and now has is presented with a lose-lose scenario. Either a war that escalates that will destroy him without question and will destroy the global economy without question, or a retreat on Iranian terms. And the Iranians are going to extract very, very painful terms from Trump here. And one can only hope that that being the least worst scenario is the one we'll actually get. But I'm not so sure.
We all prefer things a certain way, like groceries. If you want groceries just how you like them, you gotta try Instacart. They have a new preference picker that lets you pick how ripe or unripe you want your bananas. Shoppers can see your preferences upfront, helping guide their choices. Because when it comes to groceries, the details matter. Instacart. Get groceries just how you like. Instacart understands that not all bananas are created equal. Some people want them green, some people want them ripe, some people want them ready right now. With Instacart's preference picker now available at most retailers, you can choose how you like certain items, like banana ripeness, deli thickness, even avocados, before your shopper even starts. So instead of crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, you get groceries picked the way you would pick them. It's a small thing, but it makes a big difference. Download the app and get bananas just how you like with Instacart. Instacart makes grocery shopping easier. And just because you're not doing the shopping yourself doesn't mean you don't care how it's done. With Instacart shopper notes, you can get particular about what you want right in the app. Like rotisserie chicken that's extra crispy, steak with marbling the Romans would have loved, and lettuce you'd actually pick yourself. Just leave a note for your shopper so that they can get it right for you without having to ask. That way, you can get groceries just how you like. Download the Instacart app and shop today.
Iran has something very rare. I mean, I can't think of another example of it in the history of warfare presented to it. Iran is the subject of a kind of an unprovoked attack. I'm not suggesting the Iranian regime is in any a saintly organization in any way, but as the product of an unprovoked attack. The unprovoked attack has been one based on such poor preparation and incompetence that the card that Iran has to play, shutting down the Persian Gulf, missiling US and Gulf state bases across the Persian Gulf, that card it plays, and it plays it very well because it's been preparing for an awfully long time, wargaming all of this, and now it has the capacity to either bring the entire world economy, and particularly the US economy, to its knees, or to extract from America concessions that it could not possibly have dreamt of before Trump was foolish enough to begin all of this. So this is why Trump will go down in history as the most incompetent and unsuccessful US president of all time. I mean, his place in the history books, not as a kind of criminal or a sex offender or a failed businessman or a fraud or somebody who tried to seize power on January the 6th, or a whole host of other crimes, will be dwarfed by this, by the gift he gave Iran, America's kind of mortal enemy, humiliated America in 1979, which is really, I think, one of the key causes of popular American animus against Iran. Trump has kind of taken that, or is potentially going to take that humiliation and magnify it many times over, because the Iranians will ask the Americans to leave the Gulf permanently. They will perhaps ask for reparations. They will certainly place a levy on travel through the Gulf that will make Iran extraordinarily wealthy, Gulf state kind of wealthy, because they've exercised their power and they've shown what they're capable of, and now the world is ready to pay attention. and the world will now pay a premium to for the Iranians to kind of dial down whatever campaign they're going to inflict. So the scale potentially of Trump's incompetence and humiliation is so great that one of the things I fear is that when Trump is presented with this outcome, that he will simply escalate, and it might be that he'll escalate to the point where many U.S. servicemen die, and well, many Iranians too. And after that point, when U.S. ships are being hit, U.S. Helicopters are evacuating maimed servicemen from the beaches of Kharg Island. Only at that point is it possible that Trump will either decide that this has all got a bit too much for him because he just wants a quick war that will make him look good. He's a reality TV president, remember, or he'll be removed. But what you get in America, I think, if all of these things happen, and there's no saying they will, but they may well happen, you get possible 1905 type conditions.
Instacart understands that not all bananas are created equal. Some people want them green, some people want them ripe, some people want them ready right now. With Instacart's Preference Picker now available at most retailers, you can choose how you like certain items, like banana ripeness, deli thickness, even avocados, before your shopper even starts. So instead of crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, you get groceries picked the way you would pick them. It's a small thing, but it makes a big difference. Download the app and get bananas just how you like with Instacart.
With almost 500,000 customers and over $1 trillion of secure payments, Bill isn't new to intelligent finance. It's the proven way to simplify bill pay and maximize cash flow. Want to learn more? Visit Bill.com/proven for a special offer.
America's a very powerful, militarized surveillance state. And the chances of any insurrection against governments succeeding are pretty minor, despite how well armed the population is. But the possibilities of some kind of political revolution, I think, are certainly there. Some kind of major rearranging of the deck chairs on an elite level, yeah, and perhaps some kind of broad agreement that the way that the country functions cannot continue like this, because whilst elite groups might kind of agree within themselves, well, it's your turn to rule now, and we'll take a back seat. We might not like you very much. What has happened here, and what will happen, is a collapse of American power, and that's something that even a declining imperium cannot tolerate, and I think will not tolerate. I think, though, long before we see those sorts of images on the TV, those kind of signs of a sort of Dien Bien Phu type catastrophe, where empire is roundly humiliated, we'll see all the indicators of major economic crisis. And the thing that kind of is unforgivable for any American president is a stock market collapse. And that is, I think, beginning as we speak. What else is beginning is a kind of a recalibration of power. Iran has so far defeated both America and Israel using drones and using extremely cheap and inexpensive means of exhausting anti-missile system stocks, and has managed to use extremely kind of simple munitions that are very difficult to defeat, very difficult to destroy. And in this kind of drone era, we're seeing, I guess, what we saw when battleships became obsolete. We're seeing a point at which maybe kind of air power doesn't function in the way that it once did. I mean, if you have a fleet of 50 or 100 F-35s, what is that compared to 10,000, 50,000 Shahad drones? You know, in terms of the ability to, again, project power. America, I mean, imperial powers have humiliations. Russia in Afghanistan, America in Vietnam, the British in South Africa, and it's normally where new modes of warfare are devised to defeat the overwhelming and hegemonic power of an empire. And the Mujahideen use of Stinger missiles supplied by America to bring down Hind helicopters, the development of modern guerrilla warfare tactics by the Boers to defeat the British, and now the use of drones to defeat America. And this is going to tell us something very important. I mean, Ukraine and Russia have told us something very important about the shape of war in the 21st century. The Ukrainians, whilst not fully victorious, have held the Russians back now for 4 years. An operation that was supposed to take 2 days has taken the length essentially of the First World War, and there is no end in sight. And this is a large part to do with Ukrainian versatility and their ability to employ extremely cheap methods to defeat a large conventional army. And Iran will be the same. If ground troops are landed, there will be, I mean, there'll be a carnage for the Iranians as well. But the Americans will lose. Of that, I think I have absolutely no doubt. And the extent to which Trump has the appetite for a long military campaign that will be extremely hard to win and certainly likely to end in disaster, I very much doubt it. This is a kind of idle and ignorant reality TV host who has no further desire than his own aggrandizement and his own enrichment through theft. He has no ideas, he has no beliefs, he has no ideology other than some kind of base sort of white supremacy. And the version he has of the world in his head, this kind of, again, is this version based on his own ignorance, will misserve him to the extent of drawing him into a catastrophe. But perhaps he has decided, perhaps some kind of part of his sort of kind of primal survival sense has kind of informed him on some level that he needs to exit from this very, very quickly. How he does so without too much humiliation to himself is the great question. And much hangs upon that, as it perhaps did in during the time of Kaiser Wilhelm. So America is in a trap of its own making. There are few precedents to this, and they will need to, if they do wish to extricate themselves from all of this, and Iran can decide when all of this ends, but they will need to pay an almighty price. Escalation will not work, even though they're going to try. They no doubt will try it. And Iran can take the punishment because it knows that ultimately the long-term benefits will be the strategic control of the region. With America departed, the Gulf states weakened, and the Saudis reliant on American support, not daring to do very much. Anyway, I'll leave you there, and as ever, thoughts and feedback greatly appreciated. Take good care. All the best. Bye-bye.
Over 90 of the top 100 U.S. accounting firms trust Bill to simplify and secure bill pay. That's proven financial infrastructure built on over $1 trillion of secure payments. Visit Bill.com/proven for a special offer.
There's an SUV that turns the unthinkable into the unforgettable. The new Nissan Pathfinder, built for big adventures and all that family chaos. It's powered by a strong V6 engine with a 9-speed automatic transmission. Inside, it's rugged and capable, but still premium and tech-forward, with room for up to 8 passengers. It's also available with 7-passenger seating and second-row captain's chairs. With massive hauling capability, now you can bring all the gear you and your family need for unforgettable adventures. The new V6 Nissan Pathfinder. Power your adventure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Explaining History. This podcast is an independent production, and it's listener support that keeps these conversations going week after week. If you find value in the show and want to help cover the costs of research and production, please consider making a contribution. You can join our community on Patreon or make a one-off donation. Just follow the links in the show notes for this episode. Every bit of support is truly appreciated. Thanks again for listening.